The CE server is here and I've got some special sauce that you'll only find here. Why that rhymed, I have no idea, but in today's video, we'll be covering a few major things. First up, what Rappa does and how she ideally works. Secondly, an honest review on where I believe her place falls in the meta, and this super secret team that almost decimates everything in the game. And I'll explain that once we get to that part in the video, but let's move on. For starters, when we're looking at Rappa, Rappa is going to be a super break focused character, meaning that she really only cares about break, and similar to Firefly or even Boothill for that matter, when you don't break the character's toughness meter, you will not get the damage you are looking for. This turns the character or the team that you're going to be building into an actual build this team the way it's supposed to be built. It is no longer about just one character. You have to have other units on the team to help you break because she can't do it on her own. Just to go over a little bit of things pertaining to Rappa and what she likes to do, a lot of this is going to be based around her basic attack or her enhanced basic attack, and then you have her ultimate. Ultimate is going to be the chroma ink that you saw from the live stream. This is going to give her 3 chroma inks whenever you activate her ultimate. There's a couple different ways to activate this, or rather get to this faster than you would normally. Turning off brief description so you guys can actually see the numbers behind this. It's going to increase weakness break efficiency by 50%, which is pretty big for her, but it's really weird how this works, and it does not feel like 50%. If it is, it's a super small amount. After that, we have break effect being increased by 30% once she goes into the seal form state, which I'm just going to call an install. You guys know me, I call a lot of things install because literally that is just what they are. Besides that, her basic attack, which is going to be the Ningu Demon Bane Petal Blade. I almost got it the first time on the first try, but Petal Blade is really cool because it basically is an everything attack. It starts off as blast damage for the first couple of hits, and then after that it turns into everyone takes the same amount of damage, which is pretty freaking cool. My main issue with this move though is that it feels like it feels a little too low when it comes to damage, or maybe even the effects of the move compared to how often you'll receive it. Again, I'm trying to think of something that's like you don't have every single premium option in mind, because I know that a lot of you, number one, most of y'all skip Lingsha, and that's going to be very critical. Number two, you probably don't have Ruan Mei if you weren't already looking at Super Break. And number three, if you were looking at Super Break, you probably have Firefly. So you're probably like, oh, why do I need Rappa? Blah, 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 which is a totally understandable question. Beyond that, she has some of the things that are similar to other weakness break characters, where they can enhance another stat through the ability or through the stat of break effect. In Rappa's case, it's going to be her attack percent, which is pretty big. Now, something about building Rappa, which I guess we can kind of talk about it now. Building Rappa is really easy. I just literally use Iron Cavalry. However, there's a win set that I like to use with Rappa that works out pretty well. We'll talk about that later, probably in a different video, but I do have some gameplay of it here. I want to show you guys real quick that who has my, is it Sampo? Sampo has my win set here. And so you can see on Sampo, it doesn't really seem as effective, but once we put that on Rappa, then Rappa actually has a lot more of the stats. So right now she has 212 break effect, which is pretty solid. I kind of like pushing this around 250, but when you play her ideally with a team, such as maybe Lingsha and Mei and even HMC, all of these characters have some form of enhancing break attack or enhancing super break, whatever the case may be, to benefit Rappa. So by the time I actually take Rappa into the game, she has somewhere around 400% break effect, which is pretty big, or at least it should be pretty big, but again, doesn't feel like that. So the way that Rappa is supposed to be played kind of dictates a little bit, or rather how I say it changes depending on the super break team you decide to play her in. She does have a couple different options that are not as limiting to her the way that Firefly was whenever we first got Firefly. Now we have a little bit more. And I know the first thing or the first Harmony unit you're thinking about would probably be Ruan Mei or HMC. And in Rappa's case, it's pretty cool because you actually don't need Mei. Mei enhances a lot of things because she just adds so much damage to the table, even though the damage percent of the kit doesn't actually apply to Rappa for whatever reason, because math is not my strong subject here. But the light cone plus Mei's ultimate with the all type res pen, and then Mei's skill with the weakness break efficiency, all of this stacking together makes it so that you kind of want Mei regardless. There are a couple of teams that I did try out that did not have Mei, or even kept Mei but maybe swapped out something like a sustain. But overall with Rappa, You really want to focus on how and when you're using her ultimate so that you can get the Demon Blade activated or the Petal Blade activated, and then you use that to your advantage. Different relic sets, again, like Wind set or even using Iron Cavalry, give you different opportunities to be able to maximize this ultimate. Outside of Petal Blade and outside of weakness broken enemies, she is doing 0 damage. This is an exaggeration, of course. It's not like literally 0, but it feels like 0. Going from hitting about 700,000 to literally, I don't know, 10,000 or even sometimes 7,000 damage feels, it just is bad. I don't like it personally. You might like it, and that's up to you. You can make that decision on your own. That is, however, one of my biggest issues when it comes to the break meta or the break type teams as a whole, is that when they're not broken or nothing's happening, it's very hard to do that. Now, similar to what I said with Boothill way back when he first came out, was that Boothill needed something in his kit that I felt would make him better, that thing being action advance. At the time, we had an MOC with the Trotter that was able to essentially give Boothill double medals or all 3 medals at once, and then be able to advance him forward at the same time. It was very broken for Boothill, and it allowed Boothill to have certain comps that weren't there before. Now we have Firefly. Firefly has it built into her kit, and to an extent, Rappa also has something similar, but it's not exactly that. Rappa's ultimate is basically Resurgence, if I had to find some type of a layman's term to explain it. You do a thing, you get an extra turn, and it doesn't count as anything else in your turn order. Similar to how Zila's Resurgence works, where she gets a turn, it doesn't count in her turn order, but anything you do within that turn could benefit or I should say influence your turn order outside of that. So far, what I've tested is literally just Wind set and maybe a different light cone when you activate ultimate, gives you a speed boost or gives you an attack boost, things like that. It advances you forward, whatever, right? Things like that can be influenced depending on what's happening during that ultimate. So now that we've talked about that, I kind of want to go over a brief explanation of my opinion on the character and where I feel like she'll fall in the meta, which, to be completely honest, it's one of those things where like Rappa isn't bad and she's not amazing, but she falls somewhere in the middle. The problem with her falling in the middle is that if in the event you've pulled Firefly, because, you know, Firefly was the premier break team that we were using, or the premier break character that we were all looking for, then you have very little reason to actually pull Rappa outside of needing an imaginary weak enemy. The difference here is that Firefly has Fire Implant. Anything in the game that can be weakness broken will be implanted with fire, and Firefly will never have to worry about not having her weakness implanted on an enemy. In Rappa's case, she has something that they've been giving a lot of characters lately, Acheron and Fei Shao, for instance, where they reduce toughness damage or toughness meter regardless of the elemental type applied to the toughness bar. So this benefits Rappa, but as you can see through the gameplay that I'm showing you guys, it feels lackluster. A lot of the damage that you're doing, it just doesn't feel as much. And this is with Mei on the team. Maybe it's just that we're used to follow up, we being me, all right? I've been playing the crap out of follow up lately. And so with follow up, I have essentially 3 DPS characters on one team that are constantly racking up the toughness meter, or rather reducing the toughness meter while also racking up the damage. In Acheron's case, because she's hitting everyone for everything no matter what, it also feels like she's bullying down the toughness meter a lot faster. And in Firefly's case, being the fact that she goes 99 times per cycle, that ultimate is cracked, dude. The fact that she's able to do that is insane. When it comes to Rappa, Rappa doesn't have anything that really makes her broken. She doesn't have anything that makes her stand out as one of the key characters on top that's going to allow her to do this. And because of that reason, I feel like her place in the meta is going to be one of those characters a little bit similar to Jade, where she's very niche. She's going to be one of those characters where you pick her up if you really like the character, or you pick her up somewhere later on down the road because she has some crazy stuff attached to it. Now, again, just like Jade, we have discovered some of the things in the game currently that make Jade a very top tier sub DPS character to have on a team. An example of this being Fei Shao and Jade, right? Those two together on one team is actually pretty cracked because of what it allows Jade to do, and then how Fei Shao follows up on top of what Jade offers. Maybe there's something like that exists for Rappa and anyone else, which to be, I have it in the video. I said it in one of my previous videos. I had a thought, I had a theory. I tested the theory, guys, and it works. Spoilers, it's Rappa and Boothill. Oh my gosh, that team is amazing. Anyway, I will show that at the end of this video. Going back to the impressions here, meta-wise, I feel like Rappa is just average, a little above average, right? The damage that she's able to do during Super Break, it's not lackluster, it's not bad, it's actually really good. It's comparable to Firefly. The problem is the speed at which she has access to doing this damage, and then how often she's able to do this damage. A lot of the times you're going to be falling in a situation where you can break the enemy, you get ultimate, you go into the demon blade pedal blade move, you do it a couple times, and then your third pedal blade, unfortunately, the enemy has already recovered their toughness meter and you're kind of cooked because you're not doing the damage anymore. So it's like you're wasting pedal blades in a sense. Whereas when you have Firefly, not only is Firefly shredding their toughness meter in the event that they don't have anything, but she gains her ultimate in basically 2 skills. And then on top of that, she's able to advance herself forward immediately, give herself a plus 900 speed boost, and then use her attacks while she's in her Gundam mode for at least 100 more times. Rappa doesn't have that, and I feel like they really dropped the ball on this. Not giving Rappa imaginary implant, not giving Rappa some form of advance forward immediately in the same way that Firefly has, for instance, or even some other form of a broken mechanic where she significantly increases her break effect or significantly increases her attack or speed, something that makes up for the fact that the only damage opportunity she has is during her ultimate install. Something else that I need to talk about here is going to be her equipment. I mentioned the relic sets earlier, and I talked about Wind set, I talked about the Iron Cavalry set and different things like that. We could even go over the different the planar ornaments that she has available to her, right? Whether or not you're going to be using Forge or whether or not you're going to be using Talia. I think Talia is pretty solid too. Talia is probably going to be the one that people use as a general thing to go with, right? Talia is not bad. For me, whenever I was playing the game, it felt like Talia wasn't really necessary. I mean, I get enough break effect as it is, and then I didn't need any more break effect, so it didn't really do anything for me in this situation. Whereas this would, the Forge would give me the 6% speed increase, and since most of the things that I'm fighting currently in the game are fire weak, regardless of whether or not they're imaginary weak, I'm still able to get that extra 40% break effect, which at this time is more than what Talia is giving me. So it just comes down to little things like that. What's more important though is the light cone, okay? I know the usual question is always something like E1 versus light cone, and her E1 is really nasty. Don't get me wrong, we can talk about that later, but the light cone, she does have other options. I want to show you guys real quick. The other option is going to be this one right here. After the Charmony Fall, there might be 1 or 2 more. I think Himiko's is probably going to be really good because of the flat out attack percent increase that you get. This one is very close to her signature, increasing the wearer's break effect by 56%, and after the wearer uses their ultimate, they get a speed increase by 16%, lasting for 2 turns. This is pretty good for you because this is going to help you be able to kind of alleviate the problem that I mentioned earlier, where she goes into her pedal blade state and then she's able to do the enhanced basic attacks, but the enemy might recover their toughness meter before you actually get all 3 of your pedal blades onto the enemy. Increasing your speed, upping your action advance value, all these different things pertaining to your speed or to your character's actions will help do that. So a light cone that does this is very good. Now let me explain why the signature is just busted. Not only are you increasing the break effect by a similar amount, 60% versus 50%, but when you enter battle, you automatically gain 30 energy. This is going to help you get your ultimate immediately. This is a double-edged sword though, because you can get your ultimate immediately and then you also can't break the enemy immediately. So it sucks unless you have a team that's like immediately they break everybody. After that, once you use your ultimate, you're going to get this thing called Right-Tone. Right-Tone is basically going to be after you use 2 basic attacks, which happens 1, 2 from using your ultimate. It's going to give you an action advance forward of 50%, and then it'll remove Right-Tone, and then after that you'll have to get another ultimate that'll reset Right-Tone. So this is essentially, hey, I have 3 pedal blades, I did 2 pedal blades, I'm now going to advance myself forward so I can try to get my 3rd pedal blade in before the enemy takes their turn and recovers, and then I'm going to get Right-Tone again and repeat the process. So ideally the way this works when you're playing this character is definitely going to be speed tuning her to the point where she's guaranteed to get, 1, 2 almost back to back. Because again, using her ultimate counts as resurgence, then you're going to immediately advance yourself forward because you would have already done 2 basics before that, and you would have already stored up Right-Tone essentially. After that, you're gonna get whatever it is that you're doing, you're gonna hope that you get another one before it goes away, and then boom, you'll have it ready to go. This light cone, compared to anything else in the game, is a little lackluster. You can use Eternal Calculus, and this one's okay, especially if you're gonna S5 it, but it's really just a speed increase and then a flat out attack increase. And this happens on a conditional. You guys know how I am about conditionals with light cones. If the conditional is not something that is guaranteed to happen almost every single cycle, or even wave for that matter, it creates a problem. This one here, to get the speed increase, you need 3 or more enemies on the field that you can target. Sometimes, because you're killing things, you won't have 3 or more enemies, meaning you're going to lose the speed boost, which doesn't help you keep your ultimate up. Jade's light cone, Argenti's light cone, Jingyuen's light cone, QQ's light cone. There's so many different light cones that Erudition has, but usually Erudition characters have a lot going for them when it comes to the light cone options. Right now, it feels like Rappa does not have a lot of light cone options. I think I've only found 3, if I'm not mistaken. Again, this one, you have the Charmony Falls, and then I believe the last one was definitely Himiko's light cone, which doesn't seem to be here right now, but you guys got, you get what I'm saying. And for those that might be asking why they don't work, the reason they don't work is because of the crit values. Rappa just kind of doesn't care. I've tried doing a hybrid Rappa with like some crit, similar to what we do with Boothill, right? But the difference is Boothill gives himself crit, Rappa does not. Rappa gives herself attack, so she ends up skyrocketing her attack to like 5k or something like that, depending on what you have, and it, you know, it does the job again when they're broken. So now that we're here, I actually want to take you guys through what we were playing, or rather what I was playing when it comes to the team comp, before I show you everything going on with the Boothill and Rappa, and I'll explain that while it's playing through. So my Rappa, I've done this both with her signature, I've done this with after Charmony Falls, and so the gameplay may or may not swap between the two. It doesn't really matter. You're gonna get your 0 cycle regardless of how you do it. You just have to learn how to play the team. It is a little different compared to playing her normal team. The normal team would consist of something that you saw on stream. So instead of Boothill, you would have Lingsha on the team. So it'd be HMC, Ruanmei, Lingsha, and then Rappa. And you play that slightly differently, but you don't need to run Windset. It helps if you want to, but I really appreciate the Iron Cavalry's defense ignore on top of the break effect that you're going to get and the speed increase from Forge. HMC is pretty standard. You're going to run whatever you want, Watchmaker or Messenger, depending on your HMC. Ruanmei, I love a slow Ruanmei, which I have slow Messenger Ruanmei. I'm trying to increase her speed as much as possible so that she's able to go as often as possible within her install state. And then lastly, you have Boothill. Boothill is kind of like the sub DPS in this team to make up for what you don't have. I'm running Windset Boothill. The reason I'm running Windset over something else is simply because whenever Boothill activates his ultimate, I want to be able to sneak him above the action value or the turn order that's happening at that time. Especially when I'm fighting things like the Marionette Twins, I'm able to do stupid things, which you'll see in the video, or you'll see in the clip, where I'm able to actually take Boothill, swing him over the marionettes, get the slowdown from the ultimate, get him to go again because he already has 3 medals, and then do his job. Originally, when I played this, I did not have anybody's signature except Rappa's and Boothill's. Boothill doesn't need his signature. We've gone over this. You guys know this by now. In Ruanmei's case, on the clip that you're going to watch here in a bit, I was running DDD as well. I recently just swapped this over to her signature light cone. I usually never do tests with Ruanmei's signature because 1, it's broken as crap, and 2, I don't have it in my main account. So there's no point in me testing it because I'm not gonna say I'm never gonna get it, but I don't have it now after her, what, second rerun or first rerun, something like that. I still don't have it. So I don't do my test with it. DDD is really weird though, but I made it work. Anyway, let me show you. All right, so going into this, I pretty much did the same thing that you would normally do. HMC is going to do their normal stuff, and you'll see me hold on to Ruanmei's ultimate. I'm going to explain this first because I know you guys are asking, why don't you just pop her ult? She doesn't need it. Rappa just doesn't care. Like, it helps her, don't get me wrong, but Rappa doesn't need it to the point where like I can hold it. Again, I'm running Mei with DDD, and I'm doing that for a specific reason. Here you see me do the Boothill tech. I stole this from Moon because I saw her do it in the tournament, and then she taught me how it works. So now I'm doing this with my Boothill all the time. But basically, Rappa is one of the characters that's able to do this. Why I'm pairing up Rappa and Boothill is for one of these specific reasons. Basically, I'm able to get Boothill medals very fast by doing this technique where I'm able to use skill, pop someone else's ultimate, and because her ultimate acts like resurgence, I'm able to do that inside of his own skill. And it essentially cancels out his skill, but you know, if you get the kill, then he gets double medals. If you don't, as you see here, I get 3 medals. I immediately clear that first wave without taking any damage, and you see that I'm not running sustain. I'll also explain this a bit throughout the video, but now I activate Ruanmei's ultimate going into the second wave because I knew I didn't need it for the first wave after a couple times testing this out. This allows me to jump my action value up to the point where when I do have my AV coming from Rappa, she's going to be able to jump herself up again almost immediately. So you see me doing this here, boom, boom, boom. I'm going to knock that out. And as you can see, I'm going to get my ult immediately after that. Wham! And I pop it again. So I'm able to get my ultimate again. Now, the cool thing about Rappa here is that she has, I forget what it is specifically. I think it's some buff, but she basically did a buff that every time she does her basic attacks or her ultimates, a string of them, then she'll have super break attached to it. So it just kind of happens anyway. But going back to back to back to back, you obviously lose a buff because you don't have a turn to have a cooldown. So it kind of happens. Now, what I'm doing here with Boothill, again, holding my ultimate. You see me doing this a couple times. I'll explain it. The reason I'm holding it is because right here, I know I don't need it. I'm gonna be able to take out the marionette twins before they get their turn. Oh my gosh, 1,000,000 damage. And now I pop it. Now you see that Windset is gonna jump my Boothill up just like I said earlier. And now I get to crack the marionette twins. The reason I'm doing this is because I don't want to deal with sleep. I hate fighting the marionette twins with sleep. This is the easiest 0 cycle that you could probably do in your life, right? Again, boom, boom, boom. I have her ultimate again. Rappa's gonna pop her ult. That's it, you're done. Cleanest 0 cycle that it's so smooth. How could you not do it, you know? But it is what it is. Anyhow, I love the character. I'm definitely pulling Rappa simply so I can do stuff like this. And to be completely honest, I think I'm at a point where I really love meta. My entire account is metafied as far as character go. I don't want to play meta anymore. Like I want to play meta. I want to play things that are fun, but not like meta. Everyone's playing the same thing now, right? Everyone's playing the exact same team. We all have the same, oh yeah, you run Fei Shao on the same follow team, run Akron on the same. I'm gonna get Rappa because I know other people aren't gonna get Rappa, and then I'm gonna do stuff like Rappa and Boothill and as often as I can. Lastly, to explain the no sustain thing, I think Rappa is one of those characters where because she's imaginary, she really has a large focus on the imaginary break effect, which is going to add a delay to any of the enemies. You also have the fact that you have Mei on that team usually, and then you also have HMC on the team usually, or actually all the time, which furthers how much delay you're adding onto the enemy. I do believe super break teams just don't need a sustain. I know that we need it because we'll die without it, but I think if you optimize the team and you optimize your gameplay behind that team, it's gonna get to a point where you just don't need sustains because every time you break something, they're gone. And you would rather have a character that helps you break instead of a character that's just doing something to keep you alive. Now, to be fair, you didn't see it in this video, but I 100% am behind this. Linksha is easily Rappa's best partner. That character is cracked. Like if you want to look at a super break sustain, is Linksha. The ability she has to keep the team alive and then also help you break everything on the board. Oh my goodness, bro. It's so wonderful. I'll show you guys in another video, I promise. But that's going to be it. I'm out of here. Thank you for watching the video. Like the video, comment, subscribe if you want to see more stuff. And if you want like, I guess, Rappa tech, then follow, whatever. I don't know. Smell you later.